Uh, Actually, let's do a little meditation to bring us all into this space. So just get comfortable and start to feel your alignment from wherever you're seated on your sit bones. So from your coccyx all the way up to your crown chakra. And let's just kind of tuck in our energy field into ourselves. If you need to take any cleansing breaths, feel free to do that. Just imagine your aura getting nice and condensed around your body, bringing all of the energy into our spine. And let's do a quick chakra scan from starting at our root chakra. Just feeling if you're able to feel grounded and rooted in this moment, bringing ourselves into the present moment, bringing awareness to Mother Earth, even sending down some roots, whether that's in the form of actual roots, like I love to imagine roots growing down from my feet and from the center of my coccyx into the earth. I'm just spending a couple moments here, visualizing the color red, and then bringing ourselves up to the sacral chakra, maybe doing some really gentle, subtle movements in your hips, maybe circling to the right a couple of times and then circling to the left, waking up our sexual organs, waking up our hip joints. Moving up to our third chakra, our digestive organs, our center region, our center, our power. Imagine the color yellow, just drawing all of your energy in. Even just sitting for a moment, seeing if there's, if you feel stronger, for example, in the back and in the front of your body, or if there are any empty spaces, or if there's any tension or density there. Just taking note. Moving up to our heart chakra, checking in with this space. The heart chakra, the color is green for this space. So you can imagine this green part of your aura. And feeling into the front part of your heart chakra versus the back side of your body, the back side of your heart chakra. Just getting a feel if there's balance there, if there's imbalance, again, seeing if there's any empty spaces. Does it feel open? Moving up to our throat chakra, checking in with this expression center. Are there any sensations that come up for you as we move up to the throat chakra? Visualize the color blue. Moving up to our third eye. Do you feel connected to your intuition this morning? Do you feel connected to your guides, your higher self? Is there a sense of groundedness in your spiritual explorations, what you're bringing in from spirit? Just take a moment. You can even, this is a safe space. We're opening this space to do a deep dive. So you can even open it mentally or with your fingers, just rub a finger there to wake your third eye up this morning. See how that feels. And moving up to the crown chakra, imagining this our crown chakra opening this morning, inviting all support from our higher self, our guardians, your personal guides, our angels, archangels, any archetypes, any extraterrestrial beings, past lives, and ancestors. I'll invite them in today as we're going to begin talking for the next 3 days specifically about our ancestral our lineage. Just really inviting any beings that are aware of our gathering and would like to come and support us during this session. And with our crown chakra open and our third eye woken up, rooted into the earth, let's take a moment to draw our energy down from above all the way to the earth, using our bodies as the vessel to channel any messages from our higher selves that want to come through and support us in our own personal growth and consciousness awakening and spiritual evolution. Let's take a couple more breaths to breathe that in and really feel that energy coming down into your body. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So if anything came through for you in that meditation, we can talk about that in the open share. I just wanted to open up the conversation this morning with, reminding us about the theme of creativity and action. And what that really means is we are creating our lives in every action that we do. So action in, when we're doing our chores and doing the most mundane things that we do every day, take a shower, get dressed, cook, taking care of our children, caring for our plants, caring for our animals, going for a walk in nature. And it's become such a beautiful shift for me. The more I remind myself of this, when I catch myself doing things really mindlessly and then I catch myself in a spin out, I've been able to think back, well, what was I doing and how did I get here from where I was in that moment of peace and happiness maybe an hour before? And so I just wanted to bring that up in terms of life is really a prayer, especially if those of you who are into shamanism, they talk about, praying. Shamans pray over everything. Every step is a prayer. Every breath is a prayer. Shamans often spend their time alone, except for when they're working with the people who come to them for healing. And they're praying that whole time for the people to come to them for the healing, for Earth to support them in their process, for their guides to support them in their ability to do what they're here for. And so we are really all shamans in a way. And it's, I think in this awakening, it's becoming even more clear that we have such gifts that are ready to be awakened. And yes, we all get to go through this process of awakening and doing the inner work. But at some point, the shaman decides they've done enough work. And at that point, we get to step into our service. Doesn't mean our work doesn't end, but it means we get to hold space for both of that. We learn how to hold space for ourselves in our process, and we really embody that inner healer within, and then we can use what we've learned to teach others. So I believe that all of us in this group, especially now, are here to serve in this way. And I thought this was a good conversation to have and reflect on today in terms of, let me give a little bit more of a preface to this too. I really like it was spoken to me recently by a friend of, we come here to experiment with different emotions. We're experimenting with the duality. And so, you guys know I've talked about it a lot. Like I came here to experiment in victimhood. That's one of my main lessons in this lifetime. And before I was more conscious of it, I really would get like, I would experiment with feeling sorry for myself and suffering and get into those denser emotions. But I just loved how he put it. It was like, what are you experimenting with today? What emotions are you experimenting with this month? What's going on in your life that's coming up? What is your soul essentially learning? Because we do experience this for a reason. It doesn't happen to us because by chance. And so I love that. Just thinking of that, keeping that in mind might bring a little bit of a lighter note when you're really experimenting with shame. You're really experimenting with anger. We're experimenting with guilt, fear. And so kind of I call it zooming out, like zooming out and being like, oh, okay, my soul's having this experience, not getting identified like as that's who we are, more like, oh, my soul came to planet Earth to have this experience of whatever we're going through. And sometimes it can really help in terms of zooming out and just allowing ourselves to have that experience and not judging ourselves or not getting stuck in this is going to be me forever. This is who I am. So I'm feeling ashamed of who I am. So I'm going to shame myself more for it. And we kind of go down the downward spiral versus like catching ourselves and then being able to hold space for ourselves, have that experience, and then move on. And so I'm going to read now, before we get into the sharing part, something that was posted by one of my teachers, Eugenia Oganova is her name. And she wrote a post this morning that I thought was perfect. So I'm just going to read what she wrote. Let's see, where do I want to start? I don't want to read the whole thing because it's kind of long. Okay, so she kind of talks about the hologram and more of like the science of what a hologram is and the definition. But if we all imagine that we are consciousness and we did create this, the only reason we're seeing what we're seeing, we're experiencing what we're experiencing, we're here in a body, is because we created this experience for ourselves. So that's really our creativity in action, is our whole entire existence. And she talks about it in this post as the hologram. And it says, souls are individualized expressions of holographic God source. Each soul creates its own reality through its perception in order to explore, she calls it the source code, and report back to God. So we came here for certain lessons, and our soul did decide on certain themes for our lives. And that's actually what we're going to talk about next. But so we came here to experience these specific things because ultimately our consciousness thought it would be fun, wants to know what it's like to experience those. And so we have this beautiful simulation that is planet Earth and the ability to incarnate in bodies so that we can experience those. That's not available in every universe. It's not available on every planet. So actually we're really, really fortunate to have this 3D experience on Earth. And the more and more people I hear who are channelers and who astral travel actually say that there are very, very few amount of beings in this universe who get the opportunity to come to planet Earth. So that makes me even more empowered to do this, continue to doing this inner work so that my soul can have get the most out of what it's here for in this lifetime. So she continues, through this exploratory process, souls gain self-awareness, enriching God's source with consciousness, which is an awareness of our own existence. In order to awaken into this godhood state, we generate realities and we explore them. One reality is not any more or less real than others. They're all experiments and simulations for the benefit of our awakening. And she says it's important to remember too, they're illusions. So we can always wake up to this illusion and decide we want to create something else. But she says these illusions serve a purpose. They help us figure ourselves out. So my question to open the conversation is just maybe let's start and taking a look at something we have actually overcome, or just a theme of our life in doing the inner child work and looking at the traumas that we've experienced and looking back at our life from what's happened since day one up until now. What are your biggest lessons that you came here to experiment with? And some of us are very much in those and may not see any end in sight, and that's fantastic awareness. And some of us may be closing cycles, thinking, like, really aware that we are done learning that lesson. Some of us may already closed cycles, and some of us may be entering into new cycles. So I just like to hear from everyone about what are some of the biggest lessons in reflection on your life that you created for yourself to come here so that your soul could learn about.